going on, everyone? So another day, another report that JJ Redick is going to be the Lakers head coach. Right? It just, again, I've said it for weeks now. I just believe JJ Redick is going to be the head coach. We just keep getting report after report after report after report. And where there's smoke, there's fire. And we're seeing enough smoke for a giant blaze, right? Like it is clear that this is just JJ Redick's job to lose. Right? Anthony Irwin even came out with a report that said that he's the front runner, that it's his, basically, again, his job to lose essentially, and that the Lakers are looking to kind of be wowed by him. They're still doing their due diligence. They're still going through the process. They're still going to kind of go through everything. But like I said, for weeks, I've said that I just believe he's going to be the guy, right? There's not any, like, if somebody just like jumps out and is like, oh, wow, that guy is incredible, then maybe. But again, who's that candidate? And I know a lot of people aren't super sold on JJ Redick, but it just feels like that's the best possible gamble, right? Like all of these guys are a gamble. Some are a little safer than others, right? But even the ones like, say, Kenny Atkinson. Like, I think he has potential to be a very good coach, right? I think his floor is higher than, like, say, a JJ Redick's floor. But I think JJ Redick's ceiling is a lot higher than Kenny Atkinson. Same thing with a lot of these other guys, right? And I just think that with the connection for LeBron, I just think the idea of, like, they want a long-term longevity head coach. Their hope is that, like, we get a coach and he's our coach for the next 10 years, right? And I know a lot of people have concerns about JJ Redick. Right? A lot of people are like, oh, man, he lacks this coaching experience. But all of the candidates do. I think who's available right now that the Lakers could go and sign as a head coach that has championship DNA and has several years of experience as a head coach and playoff experience and all this stuff, right? Like all the boxes that you want checked off and that fans want checked off just doesn't exist right now. It just doesn't. Right? I think the closest thing would be Terry Stotts. And I don't hear anybody going like, we got to sign Terry. Like, no, because everyone knows, like, okay, he's a good, not great coach, right? Like, he's a guy that, like, yeah, it probably gets you to the playoffs, right? Maybe you get to the second round, but, like, is he a guy that can lead you to a championship? That's the question, right? And then all these other assistants, like, yes, there's clear that they have more experience as far as like the coaching side of things go on an NBA level than a JJ Redick does. But to me, I just think you can offset that with a good coaching staff. You put in JJ Redick and you put the proper staff around him to really kind of just help him succeed. Right? Like you bring in a Terry Stotts, right? Can you bring in a Sam Cassell in or whatever, right? Like, can you start rounding out this bench to where it's like, okay, yes, JJ Redick, he's kind of just the front man and he can kind of go through his hiccups and stuff like that, but you have that guy and like a Terry Stotts that has the head coaching experience, right? So like JJ, like you look at JJ, he checks off all the boxes except for the question of, will he be a good head coach or not? Like, that's the only question. But that's literally the question for all of them, right? Micah, Edelman, you name it, right? Like, Kenny Atkinson, like, all these guys. It's like, are any of these guys going to be a good coach? Sam Cassell, all of them, right? All of the candidates that are James Borrego, right? Like, all of them will they be a good head coach? But not all of them check off many of the boxes that JJ Redick does. I've also talked about, like, being in this box, right? All of these assistant coaches that have been playing under that have been assistants to all these other head coaches, they only know what they've been taught. They only know what their little box is and how good are they at venturing outside of that box, right? Darvin Ham is a great example. Luke Walton, when we tried that, was a great example. Like, the Lakers keep going for this big allure, this big pride, right? Like, and there's all these question marks, right? Like, can they coach outside of this box? And the answer has been no, right? Darvin Ham, when everything was inside frame, man, it was Kodak moment, man. Everything's great. As soon as it flipped, that was it, right? As soon as that box, he had to go outside of that box, he didn't know what to do, right? And that's where you saw the issues and the concerns. And that's usually the case for a lot of these assistant coaches. Right? Like, think of it in all sports, right? I mean, think how many Bill Belichick assistants turned out to be nothing. Think how many Pop assistants have become nothing. Like, because you only know what you know. You don't have the experience of learning and processing and trial and error and all this stuff, making these adjustments and these adaptations. Where a guy like JJ Redick, he has no biases. He has no real in a box type idea. It's like, oh, let's create this box. That box didn't work. Okay, well, let's go over here and try this, right? Oh, let's go over here and try this, right? Like, because he doesn't have this, like, this works, this is the way that works. I've won a championship with this and it worked. So you need to coach this way because it works, right? Like, and then they just don't know how to get off of it, and they don't have the right personnel, and they have to, like, develop on the fly, and it's just this mess. You saw it with Darvin Ham, right? Like, he only knew how to coach what he knew how to coach. You saw it with Luke Walton. He only knew how to coach what he knew how to coach. Right? You see it with a lot of these guys. They only know how to coach what they know how to coach. Right? But a lot of people go, well, there's no way he's going to have success as a first-year head coach. Not true at all. Tyronn Lue, Eric Spoelstra was in the film room before then. Eric Spoelstra is probably an excellent example. Now, I'm not saying that JJ Redick will ever be what Eric Spoelstra is, but here's the thing. Eric Spoelstra, not the head coach, comes in, becomes the head coach out of the film room, right? First year, Rocky, Dwayne, LeBron, hey, get rid of this guy. Pat, we want you to coach, blah, blah, blah. LeBron talked about this in his Mind the Game podcast with JJ Redick, right? Where he talked about, like, he credits Eric Spoelstra for that second year. Why? Because Eric Spoelstra said, my way isn't working. I need to figure out a new way. And he went and he worked with some other head coaches and he worked with some other people, and he came back and he had an entirely new box. And guess what? It led them to back-to-back championships. That's kind of an example that I have with JJ Redick, right? Like, JJ Redick's going to come in, he's going to have this box. And if that box doesn't work, he can go, it's fine, let's do this one now, right? Like, and change it up. Because again, he doesn't have this, like, idea of, like, this is the only way that works because this is the only way I was taught. The guy that taught me this, won 3 championships or whatever, right? Like, you don't have those strict biases. But there's plenty. Most of the coaches right now that are looked at as top coaches all were first-year head coaches and had success. Like, many of them had, like, Steve Kerr even was a broadcaster and a GM before, a failed GM at that, coming into head coaching, right? You look at Tyronn Lue, as they mentioned. First-year head coach, goes and wins, takes over for David Blatt. Jason Kidd jumps into being a head coach for the Brooklyn Nets, right? Then he goes to, Milwaukee, has some personal trouble. Then he goes to the Lakers, and then now he's in Dallas City, he's in the conference finals again, right? Like 5 of the top 6 head coaches that are looked at as, like, the top 5 to 6 head coaches in the league all came from not being a head coach prior and immediately came in and had the impact. It's just, how can you handle things? How can you make the adjustments? How can you do the little work? Right? I don't think JJ Redick would. Is there a concern that he's not going to have the immediate success? Yeah, of course. Is there the concern that, he might not be very good with the, like, I'm not worried about the X's and O's and, like, the offensive draw ups, like the execution, right? All of the play calling and whatnot. The offense, a little bit of the defense. I'm not worried about that. But can he handle all of the behind the scenes stuff and all the little nuances that come with being a head coach? But to me, that's where, if you put the right staff around him, he can, right? If you capitalize what JJ Redick is best at, the X's and O's, the offense side of the ball, right? Like the him being able to challenge LeBron Anthony Davis, him having the respect, him being able to talk to the media, him being a guy that's not afraid to, stand up and tell you to go F yourself, right? Like, all the check boxes, right? Okay, boom, he checks this, and this. Doesn't check this. So what do? You put guys around him that do, right? You get, like, a defensive guy. You go get, like, an experienced head coach, and you put the pieces around him that can help guide him so he can be great at what he's great at. And then all the things that he needs to learn, he has that mentor that can kind of help him and properly make sure that those things get done and executed, right? Every successful person, they do that, right? You hear it all the time. Mark Cuban or whomever, right? What do they always say? I hire people that know how to do the things that I can't. I hire the people that know how to do things better than I can, right? That's what I'm talking about. You bring in JJ Redick and you put the proper staff around him to where the things that you have questions about with him, these guys can handle that. And then once he gets fine and he's comfortable and he's able to do that, well, then now you can bring in different guys for different things. Right? Or let's say he gets everything else down, but he's not great on the defensive side of things or the defensive schemes, right? Okay, well, now you know what you need your lead assistant to be, a defensive-minded guy, right? Like, not really worried about JJ Redick, right? Again, if it fails, it fails. But you can make that argument for every single coach. To me, give me the gamble that has the biggest upside. JJ Redick has the biggest upside. And, again, like, it feels like maybe it's just me kind of going like, hey, it's going to happen either way, and just kind of embracing it and accepting it. Sure. That very well could be the case. Because from day one, I have been like, JJ Redick's going to be the head coach. Again, I don't know this for a fact. I'm not an insider. I'm just a fan. Like, I'm just following the breadcrumbs. And the breadcrumbs are leading to JJ Redick, right? And it just feels like it's his job to lose. And I just think that he's not going to lose it. I think he's going to land it. He's going to get it. So to me, if you guys have been part of this channel enough, you know I like to be optimistic. I like to be hopeful. I like to have belief. I'm going to support him because he's a Laker, right? Is he going to have his hiccups? I'm sure. Is he going to have his bright spots? I'm sure, right? Like, I don't think he's going to be worse than Darvin Ham, right? And I mean, look at how marginal these last few playoffs have been for us, right? Like, even just a slight upgrade in the head coaching department, we probably beat Denver and some of these other teams. So I'm not worried about it with him if you put the proper coaching staff. And that was the thing with Darvin Ham. I felt like they never put the proper coaching staff around him to have the most success, right? I talked about it last year when they hired him, right? Like, I talked about how, the original plan was that they were going to bring in an experienced head coach that had been there and done that. He didn't want that, and they didn't do it, and they let him choose his own staff, and it kind of backfired on him, right? Well, I just feel like with JJ Redick, you just kind of go, okay, like, we're going to give you the job, but we're gonna be there along. Like, you can pick your staff, but we have criteria that you're gonna have to meet, right? We need an experienced head coach. You need, what are you best at? Okay, we need to get another coach that is good at the other thing, that other side of the coin, right? I think if you do that, he'll be fine. He'll be successful. But again, it's just brace yourself for JJ Redick. At this point, it's like, if it happens, you expect it. If it doesn't, you're surprised, and it's like, oh, cool, this guy's down the head coach. Just kind of bracing you for it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.